All right, it's been a while since I've done a video for you guys, but we are going to go through the vocabulary for Unit 4 through this video. So, Unit 4 is the Age of Enlightenment and Revolution. We're going to do the first part of the unit before the winter or Christmas break. So, scientific revolution and the Enlightenment thinkers, and then we'll look at other revolutions after we get back in January. So here is our vocabulary for the unit. We have 10 vocabulary words. I'm going to go through each of them in slides following, but you will make a copy of this slide deck, so you will have these vocabulary words. Okay. So philosophy, we are going to learn about some philosophers. So philosophy, a system of principles or thought based on study or investigation. Philosophy, we often think of as the big questions like that I've clipped and put here. You've got great questions of philosophy. What is knowledge? How should we conduct ourselves? Which means, how should we act? How should we behave in public and private with friends? How should we govern ourselves? So what should our rules be? And you can see in this other clip, some other of the big questions of philosophy. So we're going to learn about some individuals who had thoughts about life, about how the world came to be, about our position of the world in the universe. And these ideas or thoughts, they based it on studying like the stars or anatomy, which is our body, or the weather. So it wasn't just based on, again, what the church was teaching. So these are ideas that these different thinkers have, and they start to influence society during the time period that we've been studying of the Renaissance, Reformation, exploration, all this time period. So philosophy, some of those big questions. How does gravity work? Is it better to be feared than loved? Like we looked at with Machiavelli. What is forever? What is infinity? Should governments punish people for their unhealthy lifestyles? So, okay. Is it worse to fail at something or never attempt it in the first place? Those are some philosophical questions where there's no just right or wrong answer, but it's based on an answer based on your observation of the world. Okay, our next term that we're going to see throughout this unit, revolution, a sudden or complete change, peaceful or violent overthrow of something. So you see some different images that I have clipped. A violent overthrow. This is of the Latin American Revolution. So, we have revolutions with wars. We'll look at the American Revolution, French Revolution, and some of the Latin American revolutions, and they were violent revolutions. They were wars. There's also been some revolutions in our history that are peaceful, such as protests, like you see in this image, or the sit-ins, where people were trying to completely change society's views on people of different skin colors. And we know this is part of the history of the age of exploration with the Atlantic slave trade. So brought a lot of these unfair and racist ideas. And then you see an image here of a peaceful revolution. So this protest helped lead to some changes in society, which we need more, but this time period did help lead to some changes. So revolution, they're not all about war. They can also be peaceful. Contract is one of our terms. So we're going to see some contracts that some of the colonists made once they landed and started the towns here in the name of the mother countries. They created these contracts. We're going to see the Mayflower contract or compact, I think we'll see one with New England area when we're learning. So a contract is just a binding agreement or obligation. So often, yes, they are a page or so long, spelling out the terms that you are agreeing to. And then by signing it, it is binding you, it is connecting you to all those agreements and it's your responsibility to fulfill them. We probably should set up a contract about coming to class and doing your work and goal setting. And you would agree to these things. And for some of you, that might help you to do an even better job while we're virtually learning. We would set up these contracts. Goal setting is more what I call them if we were in the building. So maybe in connection with this unit, we can do some contracts for class participation. And yeah, all right. So contract, a binding agreement or obligation. Tolerance. Tolerance is something that you guys probably are learning easily in your life because we still have issues with people not being tolerant, especially in the last 10 or 15 years. If you have an opinion and someone does not agree with you, then in our society, that seems to be more of a problem than just, as you see in this one image, tolerance means you don't agree, but you listen and respect the opinion of others. So you're not yelling at people because you don't agree with them. You're not starting a riot or an argument or a fight just because you disagree. Tolerance means that it's like you agree to disagree. So when you're tolerant, you're fair, objective, you allow different attitudes towards, an allowing attitude. That means that you allow different ideas, people, practices. You don't judge it. You don't yell about it. You don't fuss about it. So that's what tolerance is. You can see this word splash of different words that go with tolerance. Care, respect, happiness, love. I would put open-minded. Sometimes we talk about if you're tolerant, then you just put up with it. You don't fuss about it. So tolerance, you don't agree, but you listen and respect the opinion of others. So we're going to see in this unit where there was some tolerance and some not anti-tolerance behaviors for some of these different ideas that are starting to pop up about the world and its position to the sun and about just how natural things like gravity occurs. So some of those ideas are going to create a need for tolerance during the time period of the Age of Exploration and the Renaissance, Reformation. Constitution. So as these colonies do, it's kind of hard for the mother country to control them across something as large as the Atlantic Ocean. So a lot of the colonies start to want to be their own, govern themselves, not be a part of that mother country anymore. So a lot of the colonies wrote their own constitutions. Then, of course, we have our American Revolution, where we fought against the British and then become the United States of America, and we have a constitution. Our constitution is what sets out the basic political principles by which the United States of America is ruled, and this is the preamble to our constitution. So preamble means it's the beginning, and then in our constitution we have pretty much everything spelled out as to what the government's role is, what the people's role is. We have the Bill of Rights, which tells us our rights as citizens. So a constitution is a document that spells out, pretty much how your country is run, the power of the government, and the power of the people. So basic political principles by which a nation is ruled. Rights. So rights come, sometimes people think rights come under a constitution, and they do in our country. Some countries don't have constitutions, so people citizens kind of have to fight for their rights. But I liked this poster, A Right Is, because our 7th grade definition is rights are moral, legal, or ethical principles. But what does that mean to us? So a right is something you should do or must have. So let's take cell phones. Cell phones are not something you must have. They're not a right. It's not, must have. We think they are, but they're not. Driver's license, they are not a right. Um, Now, voting is a right. Voting is something that you should do, and you should have the right to vote. A right is something you should expect to have. So you can see the poster to the left: freedom, education, safety, justice, dignity, hope, equality, humanity, peace. We call those human rights, something that every human should expect to have. We should expect to have freedom and education, to be safe, to have justice, to be treated with dignity, to have hope for the future, to be equal, and to be able to live at peace. A right is something you deserve. Right is something you need according to nature or the law. Responsibility is something you must do for yourself or others. So that's like getting a driver's license is a responsibility. You do that by driving, taking driver's ed, doing practice hours, and then passing tests, and then you keep your driver's license by showing that you are a good driver. A responsibility is something you are expected to do for yourself or others. So you have the right to an education, but it is your responsibility to come to class, do your work. Okay. You have a right to freedom, and it is your responsibility to allow that freedom for others. And responsibility could also be defined as a choice that you make. Okay, so I like this poster. Children have the right to be heard. I would say people, all people, doesn't matter if you're just a child, but people have the right to be heard and the responsibility to listen to other people. People have the right to proper medical care and the responsibility to take care of yourself. So it's no one else's responsibility to brush your teeth, to make sure you stay clean. You're old enough that that is your responsibility. People have the right to be loved and respected and the responsibility to show love and respect to others. People have the right to special care for special needs and the responsibility to be the best person you can be. So, rights are all the things on the left of both of these posters. And those are usually things granted to you by your country's laws, constitutions, or just by being a human being. Reason. So we're going to be looking at the age of enlightenment, and reason, sound judgment or good sense used in forming inferences, so our best guesses and conclusions. In your life, we think of reason as using logic. We think of reason as our critical thinking skills. When you're reasoning, when you're explaining your answer, when you're evaluating a problem, when you predict what's going to happen, when you do a project and you pull it all together, when you problem solve, all those are examples of reasoning using sound judgment or good sense. We've talked about a little bit in class how you guys are growing up in an era of social media, fake news. So you have to use reasoning and research to figure out what is true in our modern day. So we're going to see that going on during the age of enlightenment. Consequences. So another one you probably are already familiar with, this word, the effects or results of something that happened earlier. So like a seesaw, the consequence is one of you pushes up with your legs, the other one will go down. I like this image. This guy's going to knock over these dominoes, and we know the effect would be they would tumble, 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 tumble. But the consequence would be that he would smush this person because he doesn't see them. Ah! Every day you make lots of choices. Every choice has a consequence. Before making a choice, consider the consequences because they can, we have positive consequences based on your positive choices. You come to class, you participate, you do the work, you ask for help, you come to small group sessions, you earn a good grade and you learn. You don't do any of those things, or you only do a few of those things, you probably are not going to learn like you should and you will have a poor grade. So you have positive and negative consequences. I liked this quote by Roy T. Bennett. Every choice comes with a consequence. Once you make a choice, you must accept responsibility. You cannot escape the consequences of your choices, whether you like them or not. So, use reasoning to think through your choices, your behaviors, so that you will like the consequence, the effect or result of what happens. Theory, a group of tested ideas commonly considered correct. So, philosophy is pretty much different people's opinions about life. Theories are what people consider to be, yep, that has been proven to be true, like E equals mc squared. That is a proven mathematical theory on the speed of energy equals mass times the speed of light. Theory explains why natural things happen. Laws summarize the set of observations about those natural things. Theories and laws are both based on your hypothesis, your predictions. They can be used to make predictions, and they can both be changed based on more observation. So, a lot of your math work and your science work are based on theories, ideas that have been tested and are considered correct. And we will see that especially in the age of enlightenment. The last word, enlighten, to instruct or share knowledge. So every day that you come to school, you are being enlightened. When you interact with other people, you are enlightening each other. Pretty much anything we do can fall under enlighten because we are instructing or sharing knowledge. So you've got the image of, one person sharing knowledge to the others, going from the blue brain to the green brain. You have the image of the teacher sharing, looks like theories with his class, and then the image of the different cultures and connecting, crossing their arms together. So an idea of sharing, different ideas and practices of different cultures so that we become aware of others. So enlighten. Okay, so from here, we will go back in class together and you will have an assignment, but you can rewatch this as many times as you choose throughout the unit.